Have you ever wondered how a dyslexic boy, son of separated parents and raised in different cities in the United States, has become one of the largest icons in world cinema? Yes, we're talking about him, Tom Cruise. And in today's Impact episode, you will find out the incredible trajectory behind this name that has won Hollywood and the world. But before we start, I want to ask you something. Stay with me until the end. Because besides knowing a story that will inspire you deeply, you will also realize how much the practice of English hearing can transform your way of learning this dreamed language. And I know you may have tried everything: courses, applications, YouTube classes, and yet you feel that fluency looks like a distant mountain, right? But look, you're not alone. Most people go through this phase in which they understand a few words, but crash when talking, understanding movies, or even maintaining a simple conversation. And do you know what secret few tell? Listening comes before speech. Just as a baby learns to hear before saying your first words, you need to feed your mind with sounds, stories, voices, until English flourish from the inside out. So enjoy this moment. Breathe deep. You will practice English, and at the same time get inspired by a real journey, full of challenges, overcoming, and achievements. Prepared? So let's start the story of Tom Cruise. Thomas Cruise Mapother IV was born on July 3, 1962, in the city of Syracuse, New York. From an early age, he learned that life would not be easy. Son of an electrical engineer and a teacher, Tom grew up in an unstable family. The father was abusive, and the mother, although loving, struggled to keep her children safely. Tom's childhood was marked by constant changes. It changed more than 10 times before 14 years. It was hard to maintain friendships, adapt to schools, and even more complicated when you carry an extra weight: dyslexia. Yes, Tom Cruise suffered from dyslexia. He could not read like the other colleagues. It was a source of shakota. He felt dislocated, unable, small. But inside him, something burned. A desire to prove, to go beyond, to turn your pain into fuel. And perhaps unknowingly, there was already being born the indomitable spirit that the world would know years later. Now imagine this: a slight boy having difficulty reading, facing bullying at school, and yet, with a shine in the eyes that no one could erase. It was still in adolescence that Tom discovered an unexpected passion: the theater. In a high school staging, he stepped on stage, and something magical happened. For the first time, he felt free. There was no difficult reading, no judgments. There, he could be anyone who wanted it. That was the spark. Tom Cruise then began to pursue that feeling. And at 18, with just a few dollars in his pocket, he moved to New York with a bold dream: becoming a professional actor. Now think to me, how many people do you know that they would have the courage to do this? Drop everything, face the most competitive city in the United States, just with a dream in your heart? This already says a lot about him. In the early years in New York, Tom worked as a waiter, table cleaner, did everything. He went to tests, faced rejections, slept in tight rooms, often not knowing what to eat the next day, but never gave up. And it was in 1981 that it all started to change. He got a small role in the movie Endless Love, followed by another slightly larger role in Taps. Gradually, he was gaining space. The directors noticed that intense look, that captivating presence, that total delivery. But the world would only know the name Tom Cruise in 1983. It was that year that he starred in Risky Business, a film that became a phenomenon of pop culture. His scene dancing in his shirt and underwear to the sound of old-time rock and roll became an icon. The dyslexic boy that no one took seriously was now a magazine cover. And it was no luck. It was persistence. And do you know what is most amazing? Even with fame coming, Tom never accommodated. He wanted more. I wanted challenges. I wanted complex papers. He didn't just want to be a beautiful Hollywood face. And that's how in 1986, he accepted the role that would change his life forever: Pete Maverick Mitchell in the movie Top Gun. Top Gun was not just a success. It was a worldwide burst. A phenomenon that placed Tom Cruise on the top of the film industry. Young people wanted to be like him. AVRs copied his style, people filled theaters, and the name Tom Cruise turned into a brand. But he didn't stop there. In the following years, he chose movies that showed his talent beyond the action. He made dramas like Rain Man alongside Dustin Hoffman, showing his emotional ability and depth as an actor. In Born on July 4th, playing a war veteran, he was nominated for the Oscar. Tom Cruise was now more than a star. It was a force. And all this while fighting its own limits. Dyslexia was still a battle, but he found strategies, developed ways to memorize scripts. I trained with intensity. It made the impossible look easy. Now, look what powerful lesson. How many times do we put an obstacle as a justification to stop? Ah, I can't because I have difficulty. You can't because I'm shy. It won't work because no one believes in me. And then you see a guy who had everything against him and turned every weakness into a step. And that leads us to another point of his journey, the risks he ran. In the 1990s, Tom Cruise became one of the highest paid actors in the world. But unlike many, he began to produce his own films. He wanted to have creative control, wanted to do it his way. What's more, he began to make his own action scenes, which is very rare in Hollywood. Yes, those crazy scenes of persecution, jumps, explosions, they are real. He does everything. And why? Because he believes in the public experience. He believes you, as a spectator, deserve the best. And this dedication, this commitment to excellence made him a living legend. In the 2000s, Tom plunged into one of the most popular franchises in history, Mission Impossible. And here is a curiosity. It not only starred, but produced all the movies. He created insane sequences, challenged gravity, climbed into buildings like Burj Khalifa, jumped from planes over 7,000 meters high, all without stuntmen. Now imagine the level of courage. Imagine the degree of discipline. This is more than acting. It is pure passion. But not everything was glamour. Tom Cruise faced difficult media times, criticism of his personal life, religious controversies, and even a phase of rejection from the industry. And yet he never disappeared, never hid, never failed to do what you love. He kept training, filming, reinventing himself. And today, over 60, he is still a reference. It still inspires generations. It still challenges the limits. Because deep down, he never forgot that boy from Syracuse, that boy who was discredited. And that's why it connects with so many people worldwide. Because all of us, at some point, are already too small, too insecure, or too fear. But when we see someone like him win, we believe he can. And it is exactly this kind of story that should remind you. You also have a power within you that you may not even have discovered yet. This is just the beginning. And in the next block, we will deepen further on this surprising journey, with moments of overcoming, exciting twists, and the greatest lessons Tom Cruise can teach us about self, confidence, purpose, and persistence. Now think to me for a moment. You are one of the most famous actors on the planet. Millions know you. Box office explode with your names in credits. And yet, you wake up early, train as an Olympic athlete, memorize gigantic scripts, runs insane risks in the name of art, and never loses focus. This is not vanity. It is mission. And Tom Cruise has always seen his career as something bigger than fame. For him, entertaining people was more than acting. It was to deliver hope, emotion, catharsis. Behind the scenes of Hollywood, what everyone says about Tone is simple. He is the most committed guy there is. And this commitment goes beyond cameras. In his filming sets, he is the first to arrive and the last to leave. It treats each team member with respect, knows everyone's names, and requires excellence. Not just because you want the movie to be a success, but because you believe all work matters. Remember that boy with dyslexia who was ignored by the teachers? So it is. Today, this same boy leads gigantic teams, coordinates very dangerous scenes, and continues to learn every day. And do you know what it shows you? That you do not need to be born with all skills. You need to cultivate the will to evolve. Tom Cruise has transformed his deficiency into strength, and instead of hiding behind her, he used as a trampoline. This is true for you too. Everyone has limitations. But what will differentiate you is the courage to face them day after day. Now let's talk about something that always impresses in Tom Cruise interviews. Your look. Have you noticed? It's a firm, intense, attentive look because it is present. He lives every scene, every word, every gesture. This goes for life. Being present is one of the greatest qualities that someone can have today. And perhaps this is one of the secrets of his success. He is whole in what he does. He is not thinking about fame, the next project, the millions in the account. He is there, at that moment, delivering everything. And this is an invitation to us, to be more present on our own journey. In English learning, for example, it's no use just putting the phone and waiting for the miracle to happen. You have to listen with soul, feel the words, being moved by the stories. And so gradually, English is no longer a strange code and becomes part of you. Returning to his trajectory. In the 2000s, even after decades of success, Tom continued to reinvent himself. He could have rested on his fame. It could have been repeated, but chose to explore new genres. In Minority Report, he plunged into science fiction with intensity. In Collateral, he played a cold and calculating villain, something completely out of expected, and was acclaimed by critics. This willingness to leave the comfort zone is another powerful teaching. How many times do we avoid something new for fear of making mistakes? How many opportunities have we lost because we don't want to look like beginners? Tom Cruise was already at the top, and yet, he risked. This shows that growing requires humility and courage, two qualities you can, and should, cultivate from today. And speaking of courage, let's talk about the Mission franchise. Impossible. With each new movie, Tom raises the level. He not only acts, he performs highly trained stunts. There is a scene in Mission Impossible, Fallout Effect, where he pilots a helicopter in a narrow gorge. It is not computer graphics. He learned to really drive, trained for months, because he wanted the scene to be real. Another unforgettable scene, when he jumps from a 7,600 meters high plane with a camera glued to his face. No stuntman, only he and the courage. Now answers me with sincerity. What keeps you from going to the end in your dream? Is it the lack of talent, or is it just the lack of boldness? Because deep down, we all have an impossible within us, a mission that seems unreachable. But when we put focus, discipline, and passion, the impossible begins to seem just a higher step. And that is what Tom Cruise shows. It's not about being perfect. It's about trying all the time. Even in many recordings, he has already been injured. He broke ribs, ankles, hit his head, had to pause filming. But do you know what he does? Back. Start up. And this is a symbol of resilience. The world doesn't stop when we frustrate. What defines the big ones is the ability to lift fast. And even with all this intensity, Tom Cruise also carries a discreet but powerful feature: generosity. He supports colleagues by profession, encourages new actors, finances charity projects, and never forgot where he came from. In fact, in many interviews, he lovingly remembers his mother, who encouraged him, who believed in him, and speaks with gratitude from every step of the journey. This shows that behind fame, there is a constantly evolving human being. And here is a point that needs to be said. No one builds an extraordinary life without support. Tom had mentors. There were directors who believed in him, friends who gave strength, and above all, he had himself. He fed this inner flame every day. And this is something you can do too. Maybe you are still crawling in English, fear of making mistakes. Perhaps it is starting a new project, or facing internal doubts. But listen to it carefully. You have something within you that the world hasn't seen yet. And maybe everything that is missing is the constancy. Do you know that feeling of taking one step at a time, even when you don't see the immediate result? This is what forms the big ones. Tom Cruise took years until he won the role of dreams. And even after that, he kept planting, day after day. His career is a reminder that excellence is made of daily choices. Not luckily. Now let me tell you one of Tom's favorite phrases, said in several interviews. I feel the need for speed. This quote from Top Gun became a trademark, but in fact it hides a deeper value, the will to live intensely, not to wait for the perfect moment, to do it now, and that spirit can and must be in you too. By the way, if you arrived here listening to this story carefully, congratulations. You are already training your English. He is listening, thrilling, connecting points. It is immersed in the language in a natural and pleasant way. This is much more valuable than decorating meaningless vocabulary lists. And if you liked the story so far, wait until the next block, because at the end, we will tie all this journey with practical tips for your life. Let's turn this inspiration into attitude. And now that you know Tom Cruise's journey, what is in your heart? Perhaps the courage of a boy with dyslexia who dared to dream loudly? Perhaps the discipline of a man who trains like an athlete to honor every role? Or maybe the brightness in the eyes of someone who, even with all the achievements, never stopped fighting like it was the first day. The most important thing is to understand that this story is not just about cinema. She is about you, about your life, about what you can build from today with the tools you have now, even in fear, even with difficulty, even starting from scratch. Just as Tom Cruise has won their own limits, you can also break the barriers that keep you from speaking English with confidence. You can achieve your fluency. It can surprise yourself. And do you know where it starts? By listening, by practice, by the constancy. Use videos like this to train your hearing. Listen carefully, repeat excerpts, Absorb the rhythm of the language. Make this a habit. And remember, it's not about understanding everything at once. It is about not giving up as long as you learn. Now, if I can leave you a practical tip, choose an excerpt from this video and repeat tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, until every word sounds natural to you. This simple exercise can transform your relationship with English, because the more you hear, the more the language becomes part of you. And if a discredited boy from Syracuse managed to conquer the world with perseverance, imagine what you can achieve with the same focus. The journey is yours, and it starts now. If you felt something different to hear this story, if something woke up inside, not keep it just for you. Subscribe to the channel, enable notifications, and leave a comment saying which part has inspired you the most. This helps bring this content to more people who, like you, are seeking strength, focus, and direction. And don't forget, every week has a new video here, with inspiring stories, deep reflections, and a lot of English listening practice. Thank you for being with me here. Your journey is unique, and I'm here to walk with you. Never underestimate the power of a certain mind. And as Tom Cruise would say in one of his most striking lines, it's not what we are underneath, but what we do that defines us. Until the next video.